Dwight David Eisenhower grew up in the small rural town of Abilene, Kansas at the turn of the 20th century. In Abilene, the roads were dirt and the horse and buggy was the most common means of transportation. The Eisenhower family of 6 boys shared a white clapboard home on the south side of Abilene, on the wrong side of the railroad tracks. The family was poor. Their house had no running water or toilets, and the boys had to share beds. But the boys were taught by their parents, David and Ida, to never let their poverty defeat them. They were constantly exposed to the responsibilities and principles of life. Hard work and devotion to every obligation was the expectation. Each boy had daily chores to perform, from helping with the cooking and laundry to tending the garden or feeding the animals. If they failed to do a task correctly, they would have to do it again.
That idea of partnership and working together, that all comes from living in rural and small-town America. People like that can compete against anybody because they have a work ethic, they know a deep sense of morality, what's right, what's wrong. They have a great sense of working together to get things done.
Ike possessed a rebellious, fiery temper, loved to play poker, and spent his days in the outdoors in pursuit of hunting, fishing, camping, and athletics. He and his older brother Edgar also gained reputations for their willingness to settle disputes with their fists. But Ike was more than just a tough outdoorsman. He had an eager mind and excelled at math and English. At home, he was a voracious reader of military history, particularly Roman and Greek battle tales. After graduating high school, Ike and his brother Edgar made a pact to raise money for each other's college educations. Edgar matriculated at Michigan, while Ike went to work 84-hour weeks at the Bell Springs Creamery. While there, Ike learned of a competitive examination for an appointment to one of the United States military academies, where he could receive a free education. For 3 weeks, Ike would study arduously for the entrance exam during overnight shifts at the creamery. He would finish second, and in the spring of 1911, he received a prized appointment to West Point, one of only 2 boys from Kansas to achieve the honor.
The American dream is really that you can be anything that you want to be, but you have to do the climbing. And that's exactly what he did. From early childhood to high school to West Point, his whole career, being able to work with others and then come out with a successful outcome. That was his premier quality and why he succeeded at West Point.
When cadet candidate Eisenhower came to West Point, the indoctrination was really made tough and difficult on purpose, and it earned its name Beast Barracks. The thought was if you survived Beast Barracks, then you have a good chance of surviving the next 4 years. So first of all, you have to learn all the customs and courtesies of being an officer. Then you have to learn all the disciplines of being an officer, to include marching, shooting your weapon, and some of the tactical skills. Then they would go out there and develop their military skills, whether they're military maneuvers or how to camp. Then you had to prepare yourself for your academic curriculum. On top of that, back then they had this thing called hazing, where an upper class cadet would get in your face about maybe 1 inch or 2 inches away and to the top of his voice, yell and scream at you in order to intimidate you, teach you how to operate under pressure. Cadets way back then used to have to stand with your chin all the way back to improve your posture. I'll tell you, it's a very uncomfortable position. New cadet Eisenhower did very well. He survived. I suspect, based on where he grew up in Abilene, Kansas, mostly because of his being an outdoorsman, he had the competence, the self-confidence that were necessary that no matter what adversity came his way, he was able to meet it head on and be able to work his way through it and succeed. He developed a healthy case of cadet cynicism over the next 4 years. He was not necessarily the model cadet. Cadet Eisenhower understood what the rules and regulations were, and he understood that sometimes there was adequate risk in kind of bending them a little bit, and found himself in violation, walking the hours a number of times. Didn't seem to hurt him any when he became an officer in the Army, however. Eisenhower, as he went through West Point, he understood that he had to tolerate the discipline system. He wanted an education, but his real inspiration were the athletic program. And unfortunately, he hurt his knee when he was playing football, but he was a sports enthusiast, and then he realized how important it was not only for his own development, but how the skills that you learned as an athlete And the teamwork and the discipline and the mental and the physical toughness are the exact same skills that have great carryover into being a leader of a combat unit. Our mission is to educate, train, and inspire so that we would create leaders of character for a lifetime of service. So part of our development here in West Point was way back under Cadet Eisenhower's days is to teach these men and women on what does it mean to be a member of a team? What does it mean to be a leader of a team? Some of our greatest leaders like Eisenhower learned those interpersonal skills to be able to sort out all those differences, to find common ground, and then be able to build that team. I'm sure that when he got out in the Army, he found that he was contributing to something that was very important. And he had, of course, the skills and talents to be able to provide a great service to our nation over many, many assignments, ultimately to where he was Commander-in-Chief of our forces going into Normandy and to Germany. Class of 15, with the class of stars fell on, is a famous class. Not only because they had a number of general officers in the class itself, but for the incredible service that they provided our nation during World War II. And all of those great men were able to lead in senior positions. General Eisenhower, the senior commander. It was an incredible class. It's a class that I know not only West Point's very proud of, but our nation's very proud of for the service that they gave our country. With some very tough times and some very difficult circumstances. When our world, our nation, needed them most, they answered the call of duty and they provided what our nation needed. You look at that generation, you look at those men and those women that had fought in World War II and those that had given their life in Normandy and elsewhere for our generation. They're the generation that have lived those values that we aspire to today. When you see the statues of Eisenhower and Patton and MacArthur, and you understand what they did as graduates of West Point, as they lived the values of duty on our country, not only as cadets, but afterwards, how they served their country, not only to our national defense, but also as President Eisenhower did as President of the United States. They are the role models for our cadets today. They are the shoulders on who our cadets now stand. When you affiliate yourself with names like Eisenhower, MacArthur, and Patton, you know that you affiliated yourself with some of the best that our nation has ever had.